In the dawn of creation, in a world untouched by time, there existed a paradise, a garden of unparalleled beauty. But within this Eden of wonders, a fateful choice would forever alter the course of human history. Join me as we dive deep into the timeless tale of the first murder of human history, a story of jealousy, betrayal, and the enduring lessons it carries. Welcome, my friends, to a journey into the heart of our very shared human narrative. Today we venture back in time, all the way into the beginning of human history, to the moment when the world was young and humanity stood at the threshold of existence. Let's get started. 1, 2, 3.
In the beginning, in the time before time, there existed a paradise, a garden of unparalleled beauty, where the first man and woman, Adam and Eve, dwelled in harmony and creation. They were the first humans, shaped by the hands of God, and they tended to the lush garden known as Eden. In this paradise, there grew two extraordinary trees, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. These trees held secrets beyond the comprehension of mere mortals, but they were not off limits, all except one. The divine had given Adam and Eve dominion over all creatures, but one command had been issued: of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. Life in Eden was blissful. The animals roamed freely, and every fruit-bearing tree was at their disposal. Time as we know it did not yet exist. There was no need for labor or toil, and every day was an eternity of joy. Adam and Eve, the first beings, knew no suffering or sorrow. They reveled in their love for one another, their love for the Creator, and the love the Creator had for them. Yet even in paradise, temptation lurked. In the shadows, a cunning presence watched the first humans, waiting for the right moment to strike. That presence, it bore a name: Satan, the adversary. One fateful day, as Adam and Eve roamed through the garden, they encountered a serpent. But this was no ordinary serpent. It was the embodiment of deceit, for within it resided the adversary's essence. With hypnotic grace, the serpent whispered to Eve, "Hath God not said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden?" Eve, pure of heart but curious by nature, replied, "We may eat the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die." The serpent hissed, "Ye shall not surely die, for God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall all be as gods, knowing good and evil." The words of the serpent slithered into Eve's mind, tempting her with the prospect of knowledge. She gazed upon the tree of knowledge, its fruit radiant and enticing. Doubt gnawed at her, for what could be so terrible about knowing good and evil? In that moment, the serpent's venomous words worked their magic. Eve plucked a fruit from the tree and bit into it. She tasted the forbidden knowledge, and her eyes were indeed opened. She hurried to Adam and offered him the fruit. Unable to resist the newfound wisdom that pulsed through her veins, Adam, enticed by both the fruit and the woman he loved, took a bite as well. Instantly, their perceptions shifted. They saw their own nakedness, and shame coursed through their veins like fire. They realized they were no longer in harmony with creation, but had severed a sacred bond. God, who had walked with them in the cool of the day, now seemed distant. The voice of the Creator echoed through the garden, summoning them. "Adam, where art thou?" Adam, trembling with guilt, replied, "I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked and I hid myself." The Creator's voice carried a solemn tone. "Who told thee thou wast naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded that thou shouldest not eat?" Adam confessed, "The woman whom thou gavest to me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat." Eve, too, admitted her transgression. "The serpent beguiled me, and I did eat." The Creator's anger was like a storm gathering in the heavens. It wasn't merely disobedience. It was the betrayal of trust and the unraveling of the harmony that existed. As punishment, the Creator decreed that humanity would no longer live in paradise. The ground, which had once yielded its fruits without toil, would now bear thorns and thistles. Life as they knew it had changed forever. But the punishment did not end there. The serpent, the embodiment of deceit, was cursed to crawl upon its belly and eat dust for all its days. And it was decreed that there would be enmity between the serpent and humanity. Most significantly, the Creator's judgment fell upon the first humans. Adam and Eve were cast out of Eden, and the gate to paradise was sealed behind them. The bliss of eternity in the garden was replaced by the harsh realities of mortality and suffering. As they ventured into the unknown world beyond Eden, Adam and Eve faced trials and tribulations they had never known before. They bore children, tended to the land with sweat and toil, and experienced the heartaches of loss and sorrow. Life, once eternal, now had an expiration date. Yet, even in their exile, they held on to hope. They knew they had been granted a second chance, a chance to seek redemption, to mend the tear in the fabric of creation. But redemption would not come easily, for they had introduced something dark into the world, the knowledge of good and evil. With this knowledge came the capacity to choose, and with choice came the possibility of wrongdoing. It was into this world with its complexities and moral dilemmas that Adam and Eve brought forth their children. Their firstborn was Cain, and his brother was Abel. Cain and Abel, like their parents, were born into a world forever altered by the choices made in Eden. The knowledge of good and evil flowed through their veins, and the burden of their ancestors' transgressions weighed heavily upon them. Cain, the elder of the two, was a man of the earth. He tilled the soil, working the land with the sweat of his brow. He was a symbol of the transition from the hunter-gatherer way of life to settled agricultural communities. His work was a testament to humanity's determination to survive in a world that had become harsh and unforgiving. Abel, the younger brother, took on a different role. He was a keeper of flocks, forging a connection with the natural world reminiscent of the nomadic way of life from which their people had evolved. His bond with the creatures under his care ran deep, and his offerings to God were born not out of obligation, but out of a sincere heart. These differing roles and dispositions would eventually set the stage for a collision of worlds, a collision born of jealousy, ambition, and resentment. The very essence of their beings, their choices, and the expectations placed upon them would converge in a way that history had never seen before. As Cain and Abel grew, their paths diverged further. Cain, burdened by the weight of his responsibilities and the expectations placed upon him as the firstborn, toiled day in and day out, working the land with determination. He saw his work as a means to secure a future for his family, a future free from the suffering they had experienced since their expulsion from Eden. Abel, on the other hand, tended his flocks with a gentle hand. He found solace in the rhythms of nature, and his offerings to God were a reflection of the gratitude he felt for the beauty and bounty of the world around him. He lived in harmony with creation, seeking to understand the intricate balance of life and death that governed the natural order. As the years passed, the difference between the brothers became more pronounced. Cain's ambition grew, fueled by the desire to prove himself and secure a legacy. He became consumed by the idea that his sacrifices and hard work were not only a means of survival, but a path to greatness. Abel, on the other hand, remained humble and content with his place in the world. He saw no need for grandeur or recognition, finding fulfillment in the simple joys of life. His offerings to God were born not out of a desire for personal gain, but out of a genuine sense of reverence and gratitude. It was during the season of offerings, a time when both brothers presented their gifts to the divine, that the tension between them reached its breaking point. Each brought forth their offerings, Cain the fruits of his labor from the earth, and Abel the choicest of his flock. God, in all-knowing wisdom, regarded the offerings with discernment. Abel's gift, born from a pure heart and an understanding of the interconnectedness of all life, found favor in the eyes of the Creator. It was a reflection of the divine order that permeated the world, the cycle of life, death, and renewal. Cain's offering, though abundant in material wealth, lacked the sincerity and reverence that characterized Abel's gift. It was a product of ambition and the desire for recognition. God, seeing the impurity of Cain's intentions, did not regard his offering with the same favor. As the brothers presented their offerings, it became clear that God had accepted Abel's gift while rejecting Cain's. The realization struck Cain like a thunderbolt. The bitterness that had been simmering within him for years erupted in a blaze of envy and anger. He could not bear the thought that his brother, the one he perceived as having an easier and more carefree life, had received the divine favor he so desperately sought. In his heart, the seeds of resentment had grown into a consuming fire. One fateful day, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Cain lured Abel to a remote place in the field, away from the watchful eyes of their family. There, in the dim twilight, he confronted his brother with venomous words. "Why has God favored you and your offerings while rejecting mine?" Cain demanded, his voice laced with bitterness. Abel, ever gentle and full of compassion, tried to reason with his brother. "Cain, there is no need for jealousy or anger. Our offerings reflect the intentions of our hearts. God sees beyond the material and into the depths of our souls." But Cain's heart was hardened, and his envy could not be quelled. In a fit of rage, he raised his hand against his brother and struck him down with a stone. Abel fell to the ground, his lifeblood staining the earth. The world had witnessed its first murder, a brother's betrayal born of jealousy and resentment. Cain, standing over the lifeless body of his brother, realized the gravity of his actions. His ambition, envy, and anger had led him down a path of darkness and violence. The consequences of his choice weighed heavily upon him. God's voice, echoing through the darkness, called out to Cain, "Where is Abel, thy brother?" Cain, his voice trembling with guilt, replied, "I know not. Am I my brother's keeper?" But the Creator's omniscient gaze saw through Cain's deceit. "What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground, and now thou art cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand." God's judgment was swift and severe. Cain, marked with a curse, would no longer find the earth yielding its fruits to him. He would be a wanderer and a fugitive, forever separated from the land he had once tilled. The burden of his brother's blood would haunt him for the rest of his days. Cain, now a pariah, wandered through the land in search of a place to call his own. His heart was heavy with remorse, and the weight of his actions bore down upon him like a relentless storm. He was a man marked by tragedy, forever bearing the scar of the world's first murder. As Cain roamed the desolate wilderness, he wrestled with his guilt and the consequences of his choices. He questioned the justice of the divine's judgment and the purpose of his existence. His life had become a never-ending journey of exile, a solitary existence haunted by the memory of his brother's blood. But even in the midst of his despair, there was a glimmer of hope, a spark of redemption that flickered in the darkness. Despite his transgressions, Cain's life was not without purpose. His story, a tale of jealousy, betrayal, and remorse, held within it profound theological lessons and moral truths. Cain's journey, fraught with trials and tribulations, would ultimately serve as a testament to the power of choice and the consequences of our actions. His story would be a cautionary tale for generations to come, a reminder of the destructive force of envy and the importance of humility, compassion, and repentance. In the annals of history, Cain and Abel's story would be retold and examined from countless angles, its theological and moral implications serving as a source of contemplation and reflection. It would stand as a testament to the enduring power of ancient narratives to illuminate the human condition and offer guidance to the path to redemption. As for the first humans, Adam and Eve, they would carry the weight of their choices throughout their lives. They would experience the joy of parenthood, welcoming other children to the world, but the memory of Abel's tragic fate would never fade. Their existence outside the paradise of Eden would be one of toil and hardship, marked by the harsh realities of a world forever changed by the choices made in the garden. Yet even in their exile, they would find moments of grace and glimpses of the Creator's mercy. The story of Cain and Abel, like the forbidden fruit from the tree of knowledge, would forever remain a part of the human experience, a reminder of the capacity for both good and evil that resides within each of us, and a call to choose the path of righteousness and compassion, lest we too fall victim to the shadows that lurk in the human heart. And so the tale of the first murder in human history, born of jealousy and betrayal, would continue to captivate and intrigue, offering timeless lessons and eternal truths for those willing to listen and learn from the ancient narrative. It would stand as a testament to the enduring power of storytelling to illuminate the depths of the human soul and guide us on the path to redemption.
If you've enjoyed this exploration of history and intrigue, and if you hunger for more tales that unlock the secrets of the past, don't forget to show your support. Please hit that like button if you found this video engaging and thought-provoking. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the Lore Chronicles. So thank you. This is John, signing off, and we'll see you next time.